The Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
If I'm the Dems, I'm like, look, we've taken a stand, but we're not going to let families starve. Chuck Schumer, in March, kept the government open for this very reason. And then he took a blasting from the base of his party that he had to show fight. But this is not the fight, because you have millions and millions of Americans who are on the edge right now. And everyone at home knows what I'm talking about. You're on the edge right now, and a lot of them are getting pushed off the precipice by this shutdown.
Veterans, kids, I mean, it's all
Air
kinds of
traffic
people.
controllers, you
That's
name
right.
it.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show, and we're now on day 28 of this government shutdown. And look, I always want to give you a little bit of history, and then we're going to get to the phones, just because it's important that you know kind of how we got here. Prior to Graham Rudman in the late 80s, early 90s, there were 40, 50 government shutdowns in the course of our history, but the government didn't actually shut down. The assumption was eventually they were going to get together, and yeah, there were 2-week, 3-week, 5 days. You can look at any number of shutdowns. Since Graham Rudman, the idea was, and it was a good idea, it was a bipartisan bill. There was a good idea to make people more accountable for how they spend our money. And that was the idea of this, okay? But what it did, the unintended consequence was that the government shutdown became a political tool that people could use against each other. And it started with the 1995 shutdown, and it's gone on since then. Now, that is not to lay any blame at anybody's feet about a shutdown. It's to understand how this came about. And here's what bothers me today. I was doing some reading this morning about what was going on related to the United States Senate. And they did not vote yesterday on that. But they did vote to confirm 2 more judges. And I'm not saying that those folks being in limbo is not an important thing, but there are millions of people that are in limbo right now because of this government shutdown. And again, in theory, I have no problem with the government shutdown. I think we need to get the attention of people, and we need to start really cutting back on spending. Okay, and I asked the question of about, there is money coming in, okay? And so what happens to that money that's coming in right now? Because those of us that are on W-2s and are not government workers, or made quarterly payments on September the 15th, there was a whole bunch of money that has come into the government. So I checked into that, and, the taxes are being taken up. They're currently, coming in every day, but the Constitution is clear. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law. This means that the government can only spend money that has been specifically allocated by law through appropriations bills. So there's money. There's money to pay these federal workers. There's money to do the things we have to do, because most of us, there's a few million federal workers that are not going into work right now. Or maybe a million, because there's 2.4 million total federal workers. It may not even be but a few 100,000, okay? I don't know what the number is. But there are, 100 million of the rest of us that are paying W-2 taxes and paid taxes on the 15th of September. If they were self-employed like I am, that money's sitting there waiting to be appropriated. The Senate's not doing their job. The Congress did their job. And here's what makes me mad. And I know the Senate is controlled by Republicans. I'm not blaming Republicans. I'm just saying that they have a schedule today. Their schedule today is at 9:30. They've got the Senate Committee on Armed Services. At 10 o'clock, they've got Commerce, Science, and Transportation Subcommittee on the Coast Guard. At 10:15, they've got a Senate Committee on the Judiciary. On the floor, they're going to reconvene after leader remarks in a period of morning business with senators permitted to speak up to 10 minutes. At 2:15, they're recessing for weekly conference meetings. At 2:20, if cloture is invoked on the Pratt nomination, a confirmation will be held. And then there will be live floor proceedings, basically all day long. I hope that somewhere along the line they're going to take up the budget but they are still getting their paychecks. This is what I'm angry about. They're still getting their paychecks while they're asking air traffic controllers and TSA agents and other folks not to get their paychecks. This is patently unfair. Now, this is at the feet of the Democrats, because what normally happens is, even if you're going to vote no on the final bill, okay, even if you're going to vote no on the final bill, you have allowed people to take a vote. And so you do what's called voting for cloture, and that is closing the filibuster. That is getting to a final vote. I know it's a procedural thing, and the Constitution allows many people to be involved in this process, okay? But they're very clear about who allocates the money. So I want to be clear about all of this stuff, and I think it's really important that we are. And, there are challenges that we're all in there. So I want you to call your senators again today and say, why are you doing other business and not taking up this vote? And I think you probably ought to call John Thune's office too. I think he's doing as well a job as he can, but there's a lot of things happening. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we've got lots more to come.
Fuel our discussions with your opinions.
We need to talk about common sense here.
We're the station that gives you a voice.
It's my local station.
We're North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
This fall, give your lawn and food plots the winning edge with Limelight Pro. Now at Farmers Exchange in Cleveland. Limelight Pro is a premium, fast-acting pelletized lime that helps balance soil pH, unlock nutrients, and boost plant growth. Easy to spread, quick to work, and perfect for a fall application. Whether growing grass, gardens, or game plots, get the results you want with Limelight Pro. Farmers Exchange, your hometown partner for a stronger, greener season.
You wouldn't want someone you couldn't trust working on your family's HVAC and plumbing, so why would you call anyone but Gainesville Mechanical? They're your local, most trusted and award-winning HVAC and plumbing company in North Georgia. From maintenance appointments and clogged drains to plumbing emergencies and new system installations, their team is ready to serve you. And with their customer assurance maintenance plan, you can receive discounts, priority scheduling, and 24/7 no overtime rates. Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes since 1989.
This is Governor Brian Kemp.
Georgians are used to affordable, reliable energy because of the good work of the Public Service Commission. As your commissioner, Tim Eccles secured a 3-year Georgia Power rate freeze and made sure our state's growth isn't hitting your wallet. Tim's keeping rates down and money in your pocket and standing against the Democrats who want hardworking Georgians to pay over $800 more per year. Keep Tim Eccles in the fight by voting early or on Election Day, November the 4th.
Georgians First Leadership Committee paid for this ad.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Towns County Sheriff and a deputy have been indicted by a grand jury this week on charges from a December 2024 incident. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
The markets are watching this very clearly, this upcoming meeting. I mean, you're talking about the 2 largest economies in the world, Mohammed. I mean, what's at stake here?
A lot. And I think if you look more broadly, what the U.S. has achieved on tariffs was something that most economists didn't think was going to happen. We thought that there would be massive retaliation against the U.S. There hasn't been. Europe, the UK, a number of Asian countries have all signed framework agreements. The only outstanding ones are India, Canada, and China, and there's clear progress on China. Secondly, we're collecting a lot of tariff revenues. On an annual basis, we're now looking at $300 billion of tariff revenues. Third, the impact on inflation has been limited. So if you look at what people have been worried about, the U.S. has gotten to a fairer trading system without the disadvantages that people thought would materialize. Now,
It is the Martha Zoller Show. It's so great to have you here with us. We're going to talk about a lot of different things today. We've got things close to home as well as around the corner or around the world, as I like to say. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. You can also text us at that number. And first up, we're going to bring it back closer to home and talk to Ray in Commerce. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Hey, how are you, Martha?
I'm good.
So, this is appropriate right now because we all have a voter election. I had called you about a year ago. I had been out knocking on doors, and I had found that I was talking to people who were registered that for somehow didn't have a designation, Republican or Democrat, and I found out that a couple of mentally challenged people were registered without their guardian or parents' knowledge. So you said I should investigate that.
Yes, I remember that now. Yes.
And I meant to call you back the first 100 days, and I just haven't.
That's all right.
Gotten to it, but appropriately, President Trump said recently that as long as we had this is President Trump. As long as we had absentee voting, mail-in voting, we would not have a fair election. So this is the way this scam works. Normally, if someone goes to the polls and they have someone with them and they are smart enough to say, I need this person to help me vote, then they allow them to do that because they don't want to have people who maybe are uneducated or whatever to lose their vote. But the way this works is normally a person who is mentally challenged has a medical ID, and they have to go to the DMV to get this. And it's state law that if you do this, they have to ask you, would you like to have a voter registration application? And of course, if the person there with you asks for that, then they send you one, and you're able to get an absentee ballot. In which case, whether you have the ability normally to vote or not, you may not be able even to know be smart enough to even speak. Someone could erroneously fill out this ballot and mail it in and steal a vote. Now, I don't know how much of that goes on. I know that some of it goes on because I checked with people who actually are looking after mentally challenged people.
Well, and I think, too, that, okay, so a couple of things. I think you're probably basically right, but there were a couple of things. You don't get a ballot from the DMV, okay? So you may register to vote at the DMV or through the motor voter, but you won't get your ballot there. If you're going to go in person to get an absentee ballot, you have to go to the voter your local voter registration office that's in your local county. But I'm sure that's what you meant to say. And I'm sorry, maybe it wasn't clear. What I said is it's a law that they have to give you applications to register if you ask for it. If you ask for it, that's correct. And then and then in Georgia, we do not register by party, but we do pull primary ballots by party. So, you go in, you don't register by party. I love it when people say, oh, I'm a registered Republican or I'm a registered Democrat. You're not, okay? But you could, right, because we have an open primary system.
Well, that's right. And that's why these people weren't registered as one way or the other. But at any rate, If you, let's just say, for instance, if you happen to this person who's in charge of the mentally challenged person, who's not their guardian, maybe they're in a group home or something. If they feel that a party who and this could work either way, but if they feel that a party is more about big government and they think big government is good because they're more likely to get a check, then they might send this ballot in. So
yeah.
This is the potential for this, and I'll quit. But this is a potential for this. People might not realize there's 7.5 million mentally challenged people in the United States. If you just divide that by the number of states, that's 500,000 average per state. Some states like Alaska with smaller population,
right, absolutely,
less,
yeah.
So on and so forth. But if it only takes 11,000 ballots to change a presidential election, then that's certainly something to be worried about. I just wanted this to be public knowledge, because most people, even most politicians, don't understand that this is a possibility. So
yeah, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Ray. And in the last election, it was 100 and some thousand ballots difference. It was the 2020 election that you're referring to with that 11,000 number in Georgia. And of course, I mean, in the first election of Governor Kemp, I think it was something like 50,000 ballots. I mean, it was tight in 2018 and 2020, that's for sure. But thank you for looking into that, because I do think that's a challenge, and it's something we're a lot more aware of now because of the things that are happening related to what's happening with elections and that sort of thing. But thank you, Ray, for looking into that. I think it's an important issue. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. We've got a lot of things we're going to talk about today. A little bit later on in the program, we're going to be talking to Andy Lord, who is going to talk to us about a bill from last year called House Bill 300 that has to do with tidal ponds, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, we've got Andrew Langer talking about the Norfolk Southern and Union Pacific merger and how that might affect us as we're getting ready to open up this inland port that's up the way. And then Michael Levine is going to talk with us about Zohran Mamdani later on in the program. So we'll see what happens with all of that. But I do think I'm very frustrated, because I think that we are really losing sight of what's important. When the Senate has got a schedule that looks like it does today, where it's as if they are business as usual in the United States Senate when the government's been shut down for 28 days. And again, I want to be clear. I don't mind so much that the government's shut down. What I mind is the people that are continuing to get their paycheck in the House and the Senate are acting as if, they're on business as usual. And the House, of course, is out of session. And that doesn't bother me that much. And I know some people are out there going to disagree with me. They did their job. They voted to keep the government open. So, yes, they could go ahead with committee hearings and that sort of thing. And they probably are, because it seems like they love those committee hearings. But on the Senate side especially, it annoys me that there are committee hearings that are starting in a few minutes. They are going to go on all day. There's going to be some floor activity, but there's no real look at whether they're even going to take a vote today on opening the government back up. Okay? I think that's one of the things that really bothers me. Do they really understand? And I'm not naming names here, but do they really understand what kind of pain they are causing related to this government shutdown? And they need to work together, because they're taking their paycheck. Now, if they were not taking their paycheck, it'd be a whole different ball of wax. And Bernie Sanders was asked one day last week by one of the women on The View, of all places, was asked to well, why don't you guys do without your check? And he goes, some of the younger members can't do without their check. They have young children. And the person said, she was filling in for Joy Behar. I'd never seen her before. She said, well, these folks can't do without their money either. And Bernie Sanders says, fair point. So they're still getting their paycheck. They're still getting their benefits. But yet they don't seem to care. And really, the minority needs to come to the table. That's just the way it is. If it were the other way around, people would say, Republicans, you need to come to the table. There are 6 states that have senators that are Democrats up for re-election next year that Trump won those states. And those folks should be voting with us on this. And then they just have to vote for cloture. They don't have to vote to open the government because we already have the votes to open the government. This is what's so bad about all of this. It wasn't some 47 vote yes and 53 vote no. It was 55 votes yes to keep the government open and 45 votes no. They've got the votes to do it. And I don't want to blow up the filibuster because I think it protects the minority. But this is when people start talking about that. They hate the filibuster until they use it to shut the government down. And I think it's important that people look at things and make sure that they're being consistent with their values and the people in their district. There are people in their district. And the loudest people are people like Mark Warner of Virginia that's got about 30% of his constituents are federal workers. I don't understand that if you're that close, the president has said he'd work with you. He just wants the government open. He'll come to the table, and you know what? You have a chance of changing his mind because you can never be sure of what President Donald Trump's going to do. We'll be back.
What if my parents suddenly need help? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and I've helped many people in your situation. With sound advice and planning, there's no reason why you can't help your loved ones as they need extended care late in life. It's up to you, however, to make the first call. Visit my website at kevintharp.com and learn how to get help planning for your family's future.
Whether it's a slip that ends in a slip disc, a trick knee that's holding you back, or shoulder pain hurting your game, you can count on Northside Hospital Orthopedics. With leading care in Georgia at convenient locations all across the state, we're here to get you back on your feet, no matter what comes your way. Because Georgia moves us, and we keep Georgia moving. Find a provider near you at northside.com/ortho. That's northside.com/ORTHO.
Todd Starnes here for the folks at Extreme Clean Auto Spa, where keeping your car clean is easy and affordable. Extreme Clean keeps your car looking great with the touch-free car wash at their Browns Bridge Road location. Plus, they make it affordable with monthly memberships for less than the price of 2 washes, and it's good for 1 wash per day. Now, that's what I call a great value. So keep your car clean without cleaning out your wallet. Visit Extreme Clean on Browns Bridge Road and just off White Sulphur Road in Gainesville. Veteran-owned and operated. It's Extreme Clean Auto Spa.
Want the latest rumor? Check social media.
Social media plays a big role in today's society.
Want to know if it's true? Log on to accesswdun.com. We focus on the facts and leave the fiction to the others.
It's trustworthy and reliable.
Online news powered by North Georgia's News Talk. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
News. I'm Therese Crowley. President Trump in Japan rallies the troops aboard the USS George Washington, introducing Japan's new conservative prime minister as a great woman, bringing missiles for Japan F-35 jets and inking deals for rare earth minerals and Toyotas for Americans.
Toyota is going to be putting auto plants all over the United States to the tune of over $10 billion. So that's Toyota. So go out and buy a Toyota.
All these Asian deals are U.S. leverage for President Trump's meeting with China's President Xi in South Korea. President Trump also promising the Navy pay raises if Democrats approve it. On this day 28 of the government shutdown, big break. The union for more than half of federal workers demanding Democrats vote for the GOP spending bill to get federal workers back and paid today. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A Gainesville man is charged for rape and false imprisonment after a September incident at his home on Gaines Mill Road. Hall County Sheriff's Office says jailer Alexander Tovar was extradited from Webb County, Texas on Saturday. He allegedly raped a 27-year-old female victim on September 21st at his home on Rose Petal Street. And during a search for Tovar, it was learned he had fled and was traveling to the southern border. Melvin Douglas and Victoria K. Ivester Foundation has donated $1 million to the Hall County School District to expand its Ivester Early College program. More from WDUN's Lawson Smith.
The district said during the Hall County Board of Education meeting on Monday that the funding will bring science classrooms and a nurse aid program to Ivester North Campus, which is located at the former White Sulphur Elementary School. The funding will allow for the North Campus to have a science lab, certified nurse aid lab and classroom, hallway renovation, and boys and girls bathroom renovations. The district says the donation brings parity between Ivester Early College Main Campus and Ivester Early College North Campus. And
a Towns County grand jury has indicted the county's sheriff and a deputy officer on charges that stem from a December 2024 incident at a crime scene investigation. Details at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast from meteorologist Holly Stranner.
Mainly cloudy skies is what we have going on, and we'll continue with more overcast than not through the afternoon. Highs in the low 50s today, fall jackets. More clouds into the evening with light rain developing later tonight. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Beaufort, 50 degrees. In Clarksville and Gainesville, 49. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Father and son team Count and Corey Cooley talk about their family business.
I came to electronic sales in 1988. When did you come to electronic sales?
In 1958, I was 13 years old and pulling cables and handing tools and doing installations.
I bet there's been a lot of changes over the years.
And all of them have been good. The burglar alarm, fire alarm, access control, the cameras and everything that we do today, done a great job. It's offering the customer more for less.
In a time of AI agents taking most people's calls, you've placed a big importance on a live agent.
We always want a real live person down there at Electronic Sales Company here in Gainesville, Georgia, to help understand your problems and solve your problems for you.
So please give us a call at 770-532-3334 and look us up online at electronicsalesco.com.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we've got a couple of issues coming up over the next few weeks. We're going to be talking tomorrow to Brian Morgenstern about data centers, and I've gotten some more information about how that all works. And so, we're going to talk about that. We're going to do also some more in-depth discussion about other issues. And today is one of those days where we're going to do that. We're going to be talking about Title Pond today and a bill that came in, House Bill 300, I think is what it was, House Bill 300 last year. It's going to be rolling over and has the possibility to be taken up this year, okay? And so joining me today to talk about this is Andy Lord, who is a lobbyist. He works with Georgia Watch. Emory Donahue, Representative Emory Donahue, is going to be carrying the bill next year. And then Carson Coker is joining me today, too. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. So give us an overview, Andy, first of this issue and this bill and why you think it's important. And folks, we'll present all sides of this issue, but today these folks think this is important.
Great. Thank you. Very good to be here with you all this morning. So the issue with title pawn is this. We have a kind of a bifurcated lending system here in Georgia by virtue of title pawn. So the short version is the way a title pawn works is that you would take the title to your car to a title pawn lender, and they would loan you money against that car. You would sign your title over to the lender. They would loan you money. Now, according to their own testimony on a title pawn bill recently, they will only loan you about 40% of the value of your car. Now, that's going to be important in a minute. But the way this works, again, you take your car title in there, they loan you money against that. In every corner of the lending world, we call that a collateralized loan, right? And loans in Georgia are governed by a set of rules, regulations, laws, et cetera, just to keep consumers safe and everything on the up and up. Unfortunately, in Georgia, though that transaction I just described, again, most of us would regard that as a collateralized loan. But in Georgia, unfortunately, in code, in Georgia statute, that is actually a pawn. The way the law is currently written is that's a pawn. And the reason that's important is because pawns are not subject to any of these lending rules. And they are the singular entity, for example, that is not subject to Georgia's APR statute, or annual percentage rate statute. So right now in Georgia, that lending rate is capped at a maximum, functionally speaking, of 60%. But with title pawns, customers are being charged up to 300% interest. Now, again, while we were debating some of the current legislation going on, the title pawn industry themselves objected a little bit to that 300%. And they stipulated in committee on the record that their average lending rate was 187%. That was their average, they said. That's their words, not ours, but it can go up to 300%. So what happens now is consumers come in, they do these loans, they get trapped in a cycle where no matter what they pay, they are never...
It's not enough.
It's not enough. They are not touching the principal. By virtue of the fact that you have signed your car over, they now own your car. And if you miss one payment, they can repossess your car. And once they repossess your car, they can then sell your car. Now, importantly, going back to what I said earlier about they will typically only loan about 40% of the value of your car. So let's use a hypothetical. And we've got a real case in here today that I want to get to for sure. But so let's say you went in, to use a round number, and your car is worth $10,000. They're probably going to loan you up to $4,000 on that. Let's say you paid back $3,000 of that $4,000 in this hypothetical and then defaulted, or you missed a payment. They can now come repo your car that's worth $10,000. They can sell that car for $10,000 and keep the full $10,000 in addition to the $3,000 that they have already collected. And we see this type of dynamic playing out over and over and over again. So what we have now is every other lender in Georgia is subject to Georgia's APR cap. Title pawn is not. That leads them to charging this 187% average. That's what gets folks in this downward spiral. Now, to give a little bit of context to this, importantly, the military, the Department of Defense, a number of years ago, banned this type of lending, any type of lending that was over 36% interest, actually.
Yeah, I mean, recently, or maybe 10 years ago, when I was working for Senator Perdue, I went to Fort Benning for an event that that it was not related to this issue, but this was before that law was in place where they changed that. You drive into Fort Benning, and the road leading up to Fort Benning is nothing but a bunch of pawn shops, and a bunch of things. It was just really, it struck me so hard. Now, again, I'm not against anybody making their living, however they make their living, but it just seemed like a dichotomy that here you got these people serving their country, and then there are people just outside the gate trying to take advantage of them.
That's right.
So what, I want to be really clear about that, because I think all the detail you gave is really good. But what I think is really important is they can only borrow 40% of the value of the car. But yet when the car is sold, if they default, they don't get anything. In a normal world, your loan would be paid off. And then if there's any profit, that would go back to the person that owned the car. But because you signed your car over, you don't own the car anymore.
That's correct.
And you may not understand that.
That is absolutely
correct.
Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry.
No. So, Representative Donahue, you are going to be carrying this bill in the next session. I don't understand why this bill is controversial. I have had some conversations with people up and down the aisle on this, and they're not privy for me to discuss right now, but it sounds like people are in your corner on this, all the way up to as high a level as you can expect people to be able to talk to. So the idea is not an idea that people don't understand and think is unfair. For some reason, we can't change the law. So here's my question. One, how do we relate to other states, if you know? And then two, why can't we get this moving?
First, let me give you a little bit about where we were at non-germane. With non-germane, HB 300 was referred to banks and banking in ERA. It's a Title 44 bill, not a Title 7. Title 7 would put it in banks and banking. With that, what we're trying to do is make it germane. I'm going to ask the Speaker this year to look at it, put it in regulated industries, or to put it in non-judiciary, non-civil. Now, with that, what happens, other states have come in and they have worked to cut it down to a percentage, and then Title Pawn has pulled out of these states, some of them, because they can't make the money that they can make here. With it, I'm with you. Business is business. Nobody forces anybody to walk into these doors and tells them they have to sign. But when you have nowhere to go and you're up against the wall, most of the legislation I've carried in this industry, I would interview people. They would say, I went and borrowed $350. I borrow $350 twice a year, but they're under the $3,000 market. Title Pawn can go up as high pretty much as they need, but they do not take the vehicle, the guitar, whatever in. They just take a piece of paper.
Well, and I think the other thing for me is, I serve on the State Board of Education, and we recently changed our economic standards to where it's not only the theory of economics, but we spend quite a bit of time on personal finance too. And because what has to happen is a better understanding. Lord knows, when I was 28 years old, I was in a house that I didn't know how I was going to pay for. It was behind in the mortgage. I had just gotten divorced, I didn't know, and I. Thank God I had some financial acumen, even though I was in a bad situation. And I just worked with my lenders, and I just said, hey, I'll stay in this house until it's sold. We'll do things together. We'll do things together. But I didn't, my sister had actually worked at one of these places as a receptionist about 10 years before. So I had learned a little bit about it because stories she had told me, and so, but I learned through good education and great parents that you get on the phone with people and you try to make arrangements, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. And I'm not saying that's the only answer, but I'm just saying there's an underlying thing of financial education that people need to understand. Would you? I know you agree with that, Emory.
I agree completely with it. Yes. In fact, my brother, I went through this when I was 19. He was 17. He had made a loan. With that loan, he ran behind after 4 months, and then they started to come get the vehicle. Now, I'm 19 years old. I had to pay the vehicle off after 4 months of arguing with this group, and I was able to do that. However, he would have lost the car. I think the $5,000 he had already paid in on that car, he would have lost that.
An expensive lesson.
And it was $185 that they gave him credit of $5,000. But that's some of the process.
So that's,
we're
and I don't
trying
mean to get off track, but I think the underlying thing here is, people need to understand more that their back may not be against the wall, and that's not their only option, and that they need to look at other options, and we need to have better resources for that. Now, Carson, you had a story that you wanted to tell just to kind of highlight this.
Yeah, so actually a couple years ago, Emery and I were talking about something different, and then through a series of conversations and all, this story kind of got brought up with somebody else as well, and we realized that it pertains exactly to what HB 300 was talking about, and that's how I got involved with Andy and all of this. And so, long story short, kind of like what Emery was just saying, I was under the impression that it was a loan, so like I didn't really know the difference between title pond and title loan. And so a guy that had gone to high school with us, actually with your daughter as well when we were at North Hall, his name was Robert, and he had special needs. And since high school, I've just always, stayed in contact with him, done things here and there, taken him football games, different things. And so occasionally, every month or two, he would message me and be like, hey, can I borrow $100 for food or this or that? And I'd be like, same thing every time. I'd be like, Robert, I don't loan money. I'll give you $100, just Venmo him $100, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good message. You don't loan money, you give it, and then don't expect to get it back. That's when you're dealing with friends. That's a good message.
And it was usually smaller amounts. And my wife and I, it was fine. We were able to do it. And so one day he texted me and said, hey, can I borrow $1,800? And I, rather than text him back, called him and said, hey, like,
what's going on?
What do you need $1,800 for? And before that, the amounts had gotten a little bigger. He was starting to ask for like $200, $250. I didn't really think a whole lot of it. I wasn't sure. It was just a sad situation where you never really knew. I mean, he wasn't necessarily known for making great financial decisions, so I never knew. I didn't know if he had a credit card that he was behind on. I didn't know. And so I called him, and he said, they're about to take my car back. And I was like, what do you mean? What's going on? So long story short, it was a title pond place. I get involved at this point. This was almost 2 years ago. I go meet with him, meet with the title pond place, uncover everything. He'd been paying on this for close to a year, going on a year, like 10 months, something like that. He was paying, I want to say, like $350, $375 a month in interest only. And the original loan amount had been for $3,500 on a car that was worth maybe $4,000. Once we kind of uncovered all the documents and all, I think he had paid actually slightly over $4,000 on this car. He had paid off like $160-ish in interest. I mean, in actual principal, everything was interest. Because he was late and late fees and all, it was going to cost me almost $5,000 to get this car that
cleared up for him.
Yeah, cleared up. It wasn't worth a whole lot. So, anyways, I told Title Pond, the Title Pond place, I said, look, y'all can have the car. Me and a few friends from high school, we went out and found a used car, bought him the car through a series of events, like basically sold it back to him for $1 a month so that we could hold the title and he couldn't go pawn it again. So, but then that way the insurance and all could be in his name. And so, like, we got the situation taken care of, but it was just a overall terrible situation. Long story short, he's been on disability income since high school. His sister is also got some disability. She's on disability income, and then the grandmother is around 80 years old, and they were living in an apartment all on disability. This whole series ultimately led to they were homeless for a little while. I was able to get him in a group home. So, like, we kind of got it all straightened out. The grandmother and sister were able to move in with somebody in Florida. So it really uncovered this huge problem, but it really kind of started with, they had paid over $4,000 that they did not have, which ultimately led to them losing their apartment, losing a lot more than even just the car. And, it was just a eye-opening experience as far as like this guy has disability income, no ability to pay back. Nobody in the situation had any ability to pay back, but yet they made the pond anyway, and the rates were ridiculous.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap this up on what you need to know and where we can go.
Todd Starnes.
But if you want to talk about problems, talk about Joe Biden, who literally funded Iran's nuclear program.
It's the Todd Starnes Show, weekdays noon till 3 on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
How often have you shaken your head and said it's awful when bad things happen to good people? Well, what can we do to provide good things? Proverbs chapter 12, verse 15 tells us that the way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but he who heeds counsel is wise. Verse 25 reminds us that anxiety in the heart causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. 5 minutes with the news shows us the evil and despair in the world. It's worth the effort to discern the good around us and to thank God for it. Let's leave a generous tip or a kind word today. Let's look back on our prayer time and note the difference our attitude likely made to others and to ourselves. This is Mike Martin of Milton Martin Toyota, hoping that all your days bring blessings.
What would you say if I told you that caring for elderly loved ones could shorten your life? Would you be surprised? Hi, I'm Robin Lacrimosa, Life Care Coordinator at Kimbrough Law. Millions of Americans are caring for elderly loved ones. Maybe you're one of them. What most people don't realize is a loved one's advancing age can create legal, financial, and personal challenges that increase gradually over time. Research sponsored by the Journal of the American Medical Association on the effects of caregiving on mortality found that as many as 30% of caregivers die before the person they're caring for. It's shocking but true. The solution is recognizing trouble before it starts. That's why Kimbrough Law offers a free downloadable checklist that shows you the signs of distress and where to go for help. To get your free signs of distress checklist, go to kimbroughslaw.net and click on resources. Visit kimbroughslaw.net and click on resources.
There's no doubt a metal roof from Dawsonville Metal Products can improve your home's appearance, but you may not realize that it could also improve your bottom line. That's because metal roofing is more energy efficient than composite roofing, and it could also lower your insurance premiums. It's also maintenance-free and lighter than composite roofing. Find out more with a call to Jason Odom at Dawsonville Metal Products at 706-265-3099, and check them out on the web at dawsonvillemetal.com.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a Gainesville man is extradited from Texas to face Hall County charges of rape from a September incident at his home. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we're talking to Andy Lord from Georgia Watch, Emery Donahue, our state representative, who's carrying House Bill 300 in the next session. Carson Coker is here with me, too. And we're talking about the House Bill 300, which is about tidal ponds. So quickly, Andy, I asked the question earlier about what other states do.
So right now, about 33 states either outright ban tidal pond lending in their states, or they heavily regulate it. They do things like cap interest rates, et cetera. And again, it's important to note that this bill is not trying to do either of those things. This bill is simply saying, though we do regard this as a loan, since it's defined as a pond, all House Bill 300 does is say it is a pond, and therefore you must leave the collateral behind as you would any other kind of pond. So if you're a loan,
and I guess that's the sticking point.
That is one of the sticking points.
Yes.
But we tried it the other way. What we tried to do initially through another bill carried by Chairman Josh Bonner, who chairs the Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. Again, as I indicated earlier, the military has already banned this. All we're really trying to do is follow in the military's footsteps here in Georgia. Say we want to do that. So Bonner carried the bill, and we tried to address the interest rates, et cetera. The industry objected. This is really the compromise bill, House Bill 300. We came back and said, look, if you're going to call yourself a pawn, then you have to act like a pawn.
Representative Donahue, what do people need to do to help you with this and to get this through? Because you're going to carry it in this session, right?
Yes, ma'am. Martha, what they need to do is call the representative and their senators. HB 300, please ask to bring it to committee, and we're going to go to the speaker properly and ask to put it in the proper committee. And with that, I will give him the courtesy, because the speaker has so many bills he has to look at. His attorney puts them where they belong. Every once in a while, there's an error, mistake. We're going to bring that up to put it in the right committee. I've talked to both chairmen of the committee it could go to, and they're good with it. So with the process, if the constituents of Georgia, Hall County owned, calls their representative and their senator and lets them know we want this bill to be brought to vote on, to do what's right for Georgians who we represent, we call our constituents.
Well, and it is a difficult process getting any bill passed, okay? It's never just a one-time thing. I mean, you know that, Emory, and it takes several times. And, I mean, my discussions, that I've had with the speaker on down, they've been open to it. I think it's just making sure they get it in the right place at the right time, and hopefully it will be in this second year of this session. But, what I'll say to you folks, you can't give up. Okay, if you think something's the right thing to do, and it might take you 2 sessions to get through, that's just what's going to have to happen. You've been working on the fair tax the whole time you've been in, okay? Sometimes it takes a while.
Yes, ma'am. And now everyone wants to do away with the state income tax.
That's right. Absolutely.
I love it.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being in today. This is really the start of the conversation. We're going to have several other places. We're going to have the other side on if they'll come on. They've been reached out to. And I don't even want to say it like other side, as if they're opposed to each other. What this looks like to me, and I'd love to know what you guys think, this looks like to me just trying to make the playing field level, and to try that if this is actually a pawn, then the stuff should be turned over just like in a regular pawn. Or if it's not turned over, then it should be a loan. And it sounds to me you're just trying to get the wording correct.
That's right.
All right.
And if anybody has questions about this, or if they would like resources to help them, what we would say on behalf of Georgia Watch, what I would say is if you have not entered into a title pawn, don't. If you have and you are struggling to figure out how to get out, please call us at Georgia Watch. We have a hotline. It is 1-866-33-WATCH, and we will help you.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today. Lots more to come right here on the Martha Zoller Show.
Looking for a mower that's built to last? Look no further than Cub Cadet. At Howard Brothers, they've got the Cub Cadet lineup that delivers power, performance, and precision. But here's the best part. When you buy from them, you're not just getting a mower, you're getting service, support, and a team that's here long after the sale. Don't just buy a Cub Cadet mower from anywhere. Buy it where you can service it. At Howard Brothers, serving your community since 1955.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN-FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
A warning to Jamaicans from the National Hurricane Center. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It says, take action now to save your life. That new update comes on Melissa, a Category 5 hurricane that's the strongest ever to hit the island with 180-mile-an-hour winds. Landfall is soon this morning.
What they're going to experience in the southwest part of Jamaica, those potentially, they are unsurvivable if you are on that shore.
Well, Fox Weather's Robert Ray is north of that in St. Ann Parish, as many Jamaicans huddled in shelters fearing catastrophic damage and flooding and widespread power outages.
And we will likely lose cell phone data, and the airports will be compromised. And how will that work for the aftermath with aid getting in here?
We're just getting word the U.S. military has taken out 4 more drug boats suspected off the South American coast. It's now 14 targeted in all. In the operation against illegal drug trafficking, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth posts on X, 14 suspected narco-terrorists were killed and there was 1 survivor. President Trump addressed American troops on an aircraft carrier stationed in Japan.
We stand strong. We stand proud. We will stand taller than we've ever stood before.
Then the president went to dinner with business leaders.
We made a big, beautiful trade deal for both countries.
Fox's Jackie Heinrichs in Tokyo and reports the next stop on the Trump Asia tour is South Korea, where the president will meet with China's leader.
After the two sides agreed to halt China's rare earth export controls for a year, averting Trump's 100% additional terror threat that was set for next week. The president also wants China to stop buying Russian oil and resume buying American soybeans. He also said he would possibly extend his trip if North Korea's Kim Jong-un wants to meet.
It is day 28 of the government shutdown. Another vote in the Senate today may again fail to end the stalemate between Republicans and Democrats over funding. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A Gainesville man is charged with rape and false imprisonment following a September incident at his residence off of Gaines Mill Road, and WDUN's Hamilton Keener reports.
The Hall County Sheriff's Office said 31-year-old jailer Alexander Tovar was extradited from Webb County, Texas on Saturday, October 25th. Investigators say Tovar allegedly sexually assaulted a 27-year-old woman between 1 and 2 a.m. on Sunday, September 21st at his home in the 3000 block of Rose Petal Street and held her against her will for nearly an hour. After the crime was reported, authorities began to search for Tovar and discovered he had fled toward the southern border. On October 10th, U.S. Marshals and other law enforcement agencies located and arrested him in Brownsville, Texas.
A Towns County grand jury has indicted the county sheriff and a deputy officer on charges that stem from a December 2024 incident at a crime scene investigation. Sheriff Ken Henderson was indicted Monday and charged with 3 counts of violation of oath by a public officer, 2 counts simple battery, and false imprisonment under the color of law after Appalachian Circuit District Attorney Frank Wood made his case. The charges stem from an incident where Sheriff Henderson allegedly confronted Hiawassee police officer Jose Carnaval at a scene on the Towns County deputy's apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound last year. That deputy, Austin Bradburn, also was indicted Monday by the Towns County grand jury for multiple false report filing charges. A student at Lanier College and Career Academy was arrested Friday for allegedly making threats to the campus. Sheriff's Office in Hall County says the school resource officer assigned to the school was alerted Friday that 18-year-old Cesar Noriega had allegedly made verbal threats to shoot up the school and made shooting motions with his hands in the direction of other students. While school officials searched his book bag and vehicle and did not find any weapons, Noriega was arrested and remains in the Hall County Jail without bond. And the Melvin Douglas and Victoria K. Ivester Foundation donated $1 million to the Hall County School District to expand its Ivester Early College program. More from WDUN's Lawson Smith.
The district said during the Hall County Board of Education meeting on Monday that the funding will bring science classrooms and a nurse aid program to Ivester North Campus, which is located at the former White Sulphur Elementary School. The funding will allow for the North Campus to have a science lab, certified nurse aid lab and classroom, hallway renovation, and boys and girls bathroom renovations.
There's more news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Mainly cloudy skies is what we have going on, and we'll continue with more overcast than not through the afternoon. Highs in the low 50s today, fall jackets, more clouds into the evening with light rain developing later tonight.
Meteorologist Holly Strano says Sugar Hill has 50 degrees and Gainesville with 49. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
I'm willing to wager that when you cook, you don't skimp on quality. At Loretta's Country Kitchen, we don't either. This is Grant Nichols at Loretta's, where we use only the best ingredients, including Springer Mountain chicken tenders, canned sauces, Hormel bacon, and Jimmy Dean sausage. It's also why we make our biscuits from scratch every day. We don't compromise on quality, and neither should you. Enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner with us, and bring your friends. Loretta's Country Kitchen, Monday Mill Road, Oakwood, where it's all good.
What if my surviving children are in the middle of a divorce? Can I see to it in advance that my assets go to them and only them? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and the answer is yes. There are steps that you need to take now in order to ensure that your assets go where you want them to go. It's up to you, however, to make the first call. Visit my website at kevintharp.com and learn how to get help planning for your family's future.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
This is a shutdown based on the Republicans going home. Mike, I would ask you to implore the Speaker to bring us back. 5 weeks in a row now, the Speaker has said all his Republican colleagues stay home. Why aren't we here? Why aren't we in D.C. negotiating that very thing? You know that that's what we should be doing.
Madeline, you know I love you, but you had an opportunity a month ago to vote to keep the government open and funded, and you voted no. The bill passed the House well over a month ago. It's been sitting in the Senate. It's been sitting in the Senate. Your two U.S. senators from Pennsylvania, by the way, John Fetterman and Dave McCormick, agree. They have both voted yes 12 times to keep the government open and funded.
So I love this. I absolutely love this. This is a Democratic congresswoman from Pennsylvania talking about how they need to get to work, and a Republican congressman from New York saying, hey, your two senators have voted to open the government. We've already voted to open the government. So, folks, the hypocrisy is rich. We're going to talk about something a little bit different, though, right now. There is a merger coming up of Norfolk Southern and Union Pacific. And Andrew Langer's joining us right now. He's a broadcaster, a public policy professional, and he's taught regulatory policy at the university level. He's an old friend, and we're glad to have him here. Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Hey there. Oh, I'm good. I love it when Democrats are on the media, sort of reinventing history. I mean, that's,
I know.
This is what they do. They are untethered from reality, Martha.
Look, and it's so crazy. I know we're going to talk about railroads, okay, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But what is crazy to me is there are the votes, and have been for every single vote, to open the government. The problem is cloture. And back in the normal days, even if you were going to vote no, a lot of people would vote for cloture so they could get to the vote.
Right. But but here, here's the other part of the reality is that we've got these two off-cycle elections that are happening in New Jersey and Virginia. The Democrats think that they can make great hay, and they probably can, especially in Virginia, right, with the number of federal employees who are here. So they're going to keep the government closed down. They're going to put the thumb screws to their constituents, a little bit of temporary pain in order to get them out to vote. And once the elections happen, with the chips falling where they may, I predict that sometime the end of next week, government's going to reopen.
Yeah, but they get their paychecks. And other people don't. And even Bernie Sanders
100%.
got called on this last week on The View, of all places, saying, why aren't you, this shows you're about to lose everybody. Why aren't you not taking your paychecks? Bernie Sanders says, well, some of the younger members have families and they need them. Well, and the woman who was filling in for Joy Behar says, well, these people need the money too.
Right, of course. Absolutely. And you know something, you're absolutely right. There have been a couple of bills introduced that say this, and I think that's absolutely true. If Congress votes for a shutdown, then Congress doesn't get paid as well. But yeah, I know, Martha. We're going to talk about trains.
We are.
Are you aware that we've never had an actual transcontinental railroad? I mean, I was shocked because I've seen that picture of the golden spike being hammered in at Promontory Point in Utah, but we've never actually had a transcontinental railroad.
Well, I did not know that. And I think what's interesting is we're thinking more about rail again because, ironically, rail seems to be the really green way of getting places, getting things from one place to another. And up just north of where I am, we're about to open the second inland port for the Port of Savannah, which is going to bring a lot more rail up this way. And then the Port of Savannah is going to be the port that not only can get a truck in and out in 54 minutes, but can get stuff by rail to these inland ports and get to 80% of the country in 72 hours.
Right, and that's just it. It really is about efficiency, and we could talk about the relationship between efficiency and being more green. Right, there's a whole field of study out there about this, but the efficiency is really the issue. The efficient way of moving goods from either of the coasts into the interior or from one coast to the other. Right, something comes in from Asia, it should be moved efficiently across the United States. And that's really what this is about. Now, I'm not someone who is reflexive about mergers. I think you need to look at, each individual merger on its own merits. I think generally predisposed to having these kinds of things. But at the end of the day, right, if it best serves the American consumer, the American people, and whether if you're an environmentalist and it's more green, or if you just want to be able to make sure that something can get from a port, into, the interior of the United States within 3 days, we need to
without clogging up the highways. That's the thing, 100%. Without clogging up the highways. How big of a situation for Norfolk Southern? Obviously they were the railroad that was involved in the East Palestine disaster that happened. Did that make them ripe for a merger, or did that play no role in it?
No, I think it always plays some role. Obviously, whatever the landscape is, you look at that. But what it really did was underscore the need for making sure that we have good, efficient services that are taking care and maintaining our railways. Listen, literally quite up the road, just up the road from me, was a train derailment here in Virginia with the CSX Corporation. It is thankfully no injuries, no harm to the environment, but it underscores that we need to be making sure that we are looking and having the best system for maintaining our rail services so that things don't get interrupted. This is a rail line here that is transporting coal from coal country. Now that we finally got coal country moving again down to our ports, on the coast of Virginia, we need to make sure that these things happen. So what it really is about making sure that we are in the best position to make sure that these rails are maintained efficiently and properly.
So what are the stumbling blocks right now?
Well, like anything else, right, we always should look carefully when you're creating big actors in a particular marketplace. We want to make sure that they're not going to abuse their position. We want to make sure that they're not going to force smaller actors out. And most importantly, we want to make sure that consumers are going to be able to have their needs met. I was talking with some of the freight companies in D.C. a couple of weeks ago about this. And they want to make sure that when they pick up the phone to figure out where their shipment is, that they can actually get somebody on the phone. So, those kinds of things need to be taken care of. But I think in this kind of a situation, both companies want to make sure that their customers are going to be best served by this. So there are going to be guarantees there. But yet, it's just one of those things where we create bigger actors. We know the power that bigger actors have. So we just got to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
And so what's the process here? What do people need to be looking for?
Well, so what happens is that this goes before something called the Surface Transportation Board of the Department of Transportation. They get to review these things and sort of look at the paperwork and measure it. So I was part of a coalition letter that was sent in saying that this is on balance a good thing and that it should be approved. But yeah, listen, I'm never a big fan of having these entities do this, but there's a reason why we've set up this process. There's a reason why we have laws out there that are supposed to work to make sure that the consumer interests are protected. So that's where it is. So it'll go through the Surface Transportation Board. They will look at it. They will ask questions. They may demand more answers, and then they will either approve it or disapprove it. Hopefully they will approve it.
Do you see a time and place where passenger rail may become more used again in America, or has that day passed?
Listen, I think it's hard to do passenger rail well in America given the disparate distances that are out there, and some of the other frameworks that really make it hard for these passenger rails to operate efficiently. We're talking about timing issues. We're talking about trains going through neighborhoods, and of course, the great thing about freight rail is that it moves at a certain pace. It doesn't have to go rocket fast like we expect with our train transportation. But you look at the Northeast Corridor, specifically between Washington D.C. and Boston, and they just put in a new Amtrak train line that's supposed to be super fast. Well, it's not all that fast, or at least it's not that much faster than the older trains were, and it's certainly not as fast as it costs to move when you're talking about moving passengers. The per passenger cost is up there. So I'm not sure it quite works. I mean, I think there will always be a place for it, because there are some folks who just don't like to fly. But I think it's much different here than it is in say Europe, where the distances are much less, and they have greater things to sort of go on efficient. Listen, real quick, Martha, because you're up in that neck of the woods. I had to put my older child on a train from the Richmond area down to Charleston because flights got canceled and the child had to be back at college, and it wound up just being a huge a mess because of constant delays along the line. And so, if we can't get past those things, it's never going to be a viable alternative. Freight is a whole different animal.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if people want to know more, where's the best place to find the information?
Listen, follow me on X. I mean, that's always the best way to find out what I'm up to, because letters like this go out there. So at Andrew_Langer on X, you can find out all the stuff that I'm up to, including this particular issue and the op-ed that we just put out and the letter we just put out.
Absolutely. Andrew Langer, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's been too long, Martha. Got to come back soon.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. And want to remind you, he talked about early voting, which is extremely important. Don't forget, it's not only in Virginia and New Jersey, it's right here in Georgia through Friday. We have 2 Public Service Commission races that are extremely important for you to get out and vote on. There's early voting until Friday. The election is next Tuesday. I've already early voted because I'm not going to be here next Tuesday, and I look forward to you getting in to vote. We'll be back.
When it comes to where you get your news, what's important to you?
I want to hear news that doesn't take sides.
I want to hear clear reporting that's easy to understand.
Always here with the news you need. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Some car dealers want to sell you a car. At Hardy Chevrolet, we'd rather help you find the vehicle that's right for you. This is Mike Cormier. We call it the Hardy Chevrolet difference. Since you're the one who will be in the driver's seat of that new Chevy, we think you should be in the driver's seat when it comes to making the selection. It's like Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
It's bad enough you get wet when your roof leaks, so don't get soaked when it comes to getting it repaired. This is Chris Earls at Georgia Select Roofing, where we have outstanding Google reviews and an A+ BBB rating, because we know roofing and customer service. If it's a new roof, a roof repair, or gutters and downspouts, estimates are free and we offer financing. See us online at georgiaselectroofing.com or call me at 678-316-6899. At Georgia Select Roofing, we have you covered.
It's Mike Robertson of Oakwood Tire and More. As our name suggests, we can handle all your tire needs, but some have asked what we mean when we say and more. At Oakwood Tire, we're more than just tires. We also handle general repair. We handle alignments, brakes, AC service, suspension work. Speaking of suspension work, if you're looking to upgrade your ride, we can put tires, wheels, lift kit, anything like that on there. See us at www.oakwoodtire.com. Stop by at 3120 Atlanta Highway, where we're more than just tires.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS. Ethos.com/Mike.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Melvin Douglas and Victoria K. Ivester Foundation donates $1 million to expand the Ivester Early College program. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Sir, where Democrats will have to cry uncle, these food stamp benefits run out. In the past, Democrats have argued policy change is not something you should shut down the government over. That should be a different place where it is negotiated. In what world would Democrats decide to come to the table?
Listen, Democrats have already decided to come to the table. That was on day one. We've always been at the table. They have literally, ineffectively shut the doors and shut us out. Donald Trump himself said, don't deal with the Democrats. Don't even talk to them. He went on Fox and Friends and said that specifically. That was his order to Mike Johnson. So I have been here for 7 years now. Every single year, we've passed a bipartisan funding bill when we've passed it, and that is the only way out, right? It has to be bipartisan, and it also has to have guardrails in place because of what this president has shown himself to be and to do in the last 10 months, which is disregard Congress, disregard the law, spend money however he wants to spend it. Right? I have an obligation to my constituents and to this country and Constitution not to give a blank check to a president who's willing to spend money however he wants. That's not how the Constitution works. So we are here. Our door is open. We're ready to negotiate. That is the only way out of this. But Donald Trump has to come home from his overseas trip. He has to stop focusing on the plans and the blueprints for his $200 million ballroom. He has to stop buying hundreds.
So I'm going to stop right there because, again, he's mixing all these things up. The ballroom is not being paid for with taxpayer money. The president, yes, has moved some money so the SNAP program was open for a month. Okay? The president did move some money so military would get paid. But I don't think that's something that anybody should be upset about. And I love the arrogance, or I'm surprised at the arrogance of this guy saying our door is open. Sir, you are in the minority, okay? Elections have consequences. When we were in the minority, we were the ones that had to negotiate. Okay, when you're in the minority, your door is not open for negotiation. You go to the person that's in the majority and you say, I'm willing to negotiate. That's the way it works. Doesn't matter what party you are. If you're in the majority and the House, look, would I have closed the House down for 4 weeks just because I took the vote? No, I wouldn't have done that if I were Speaker of the House, but I'm not Speaker of the House. And I guarantee you they're working behind the scenes on things. But what I would say is Democrats are in the minority. That means they need to go to the door and say, we'd like to talk about this. That's just the way it is, folks. When Democrats get back into the majority, and they will at some point in time, they're going to demand that of us. So you got to understand how things work in order to get things done. And I don't mean that you play games or anything like that. What I mean is that you are in the minority. There are enough votes to keep this government open from day one. From September 30th at 11:59, there were enough votes to keep this government open. But a few Democrats, along with Chuck Schumer, who are terrified of their jobs and getting primaried from their left, care more about their own political future than they do about the constituents that they represent. Because they think, and look, this is what the truth is, folks. They think they are so good at their job. And I'm speaking to all of you. Okay? If Republicans were the ones holding out, I would say the same thing. Y'all think you are so good that nobody else could do what you do. But let me tell you something. The people that are doing what you're doing right now are a dime a dozen. They're a dime a dozen. And what we've got to do is make sure that people get in and do their job every single day. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. Want to remind you folks to get out for early voting between now and the end of the week. Go to your county election website, or you can look at your My Voter page that's on an app on your phone if you're tech savvy that way, and find out where you can go to vote early. You can vote anywhere early, okay? Anywhere early. But on the final day, you need to get in and vote at your polling place. I want to get Brad Raffensperger on to answer that question sometime. He's running for governor now. But if you can make it to where you can vote anywhere for early voting, why can't you vote anywhere? Now, for me, I drive right by my regular polling place on election day on my way to work, so it is not any trouble for me. But there are people that live in Gwinnett County and work in Hall County, or live in Hall County and work in White County. They ought to be able to vote anywhere that's convenient, but we're not there yet. I'm not quite sure why we're not there yet, but we'll try to get an answer to that question. I'd love to know what you think about the Title Pond segment that we did, what you think about this bill, or if you don't want to think about it. I completely understand that. I think there's a few hot button issues that you never know if they're going to be the hot button issue or not. And this one could be one of them. I think that Emory is doing a really good thing in taking this on in his final year in the State House. And, because then you can actually not tell the truth, because I think they always tell the truth, but you can take more chances when you're not up for re-election. I get that you cannot be completely selfless when you are running for office if you want to be reelected. I get that. But you should still do what's right, whether it's in the county commission, on the city council, in the state house, in the state senate, in the Congress, or in the Senate. Because there are enough votes to keep this government open. And folks, if you remember nothing else of what I've said, and I'm especially speaking to my Democrat listeners out there, there were votes to keep the government open from September 30th. Every single vote they've taken, there's been enough votes to keep the government open. Because of cloture, which protects the minority, they have to get the cloture vote first before they can go to the final vote. But typically, even if you're going to vote against the final vote, you will allow cloture to happen because you believe in the process, or you should, to be able to keep this government going and do things the right way. But some of your folks in the Democratic Party don't believe that. They believe their caucus is more important than you are. And that's the way they're acting right now. We'll be back.
At Jackson EMC, innovation is an ongoing cycle, a process without a beginning or an end, where one idea leads to the next. Solar power, electric vehicle programs, energy-efficient right choice homes, automated switch technology. What we do as an industry is vital. We keep communities powered, so we must always have an eye on the future. Jackson EMC, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Tune in to 2 hours of local football fun with the Pick'em Show, coach interviews, game previews, and general mayhem. So join Bo, Caleb, Jeff, and Walker Thursday night at 6 on AM 550 and FM 102.9, or video stream them on YouTube at Access WDUN Sports. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. President Trump and Japan's new prime minister promising a golden age of alliance and agreed to a critical minerals deal. Fox's Jackie Hunter reports on a decision by the prime minister, Nate Takaichi.
She also followed through on a deal that was struck by her predecessor this past summer to invest $550 billion in the U.S. That investment, despite its debt, in exchange for a lower tariff rate of 15%.
Amazon slashing 14,000 corporate employees, and they are not alone.
UPS is cutting 48,000 jobs in management and operations.
Fox's Jenny Casola. Apple hits $4 trillion in market capitalization for the first time. A Texas attorney general sues the maker of Tylenol, claiming Johnson & Johnson and Kenvue hid the drug's autism risks. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A Gainesville man is charged with rape and false imprisonment following a September incident at his residence off of Gainesville Road. WDUN's Lawson Smith reports.
31-year-old jailer Alexander Tovar was extradited from Webb County, Texas on Saturday, October 25th. Investigators say Tovar allegedly sexually assaulted a 27-year-old woman between 1 and 2 a.m. on September 21st at his home and held her against her will for nearly an hour. After the crime was reported, authorities launched a search for Tovar and discovered he had fled towards the southern border.
The Melvin Douglas and Victoria K. Ivester Foundation donated $1 million to the Hall County School District in order to expand its Ivester Early College program. WDUN's Hamilton Keener explains.
The district said during the Hall County Board of Education meeting on Monday that the funding will bring science classrooms and a nurse aid program to Ivester North Campus, which is located at the former White Sulphur Elementary School. The funding will allow for the North Campus to have a science lab, certified nurse aid lab, and classroom, hallway renovation, and girls-boys bathroom renovations.
And the Gainesville City Council will honor the life and legacy of the late Danny Dunnigan with a dedication ceremony this Thursday morning during its work session. Dunnigan passed away last week and was Gainesville's first elected mayor and served as a council member. You'll find more details online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Mainly cloudy skies will continue with more overcast than not through the afternoon. Highs in the low 50s today, fall jackets. More clouds into the evening with light rain developing later tonight. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Brazelton and Commerce, 51 degrees. In Gainesville, 50. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
I'm Frank Norton with the Norton Agency. Buying a home just got 10 times more complicated. You need a professional broker by your side to help you through the process. New buyer, seller regulations, lengthy contracts, the crazy mortgage process, inspections, appraisal, and then closing. You need Norton now more than ever. Call us at 770-532-0022 or look for us on the web at gonorton.com. Our family serving North Georgia for 4 generations.
Are you frustrated with your contacts? Have your glasses become more of a burden? Well, don't suffer. Hi, this is Kim. Here at Advanced Eye Center, we offer all laser LASIK to free your eyes. When you consider not only the amount of money you pay for all of that eye gear, but also the amount of time you spend handling contacts, glasses, cases, solution, and eye drops, how can you not afford to have LASIK? Invest in you. Save your money, Save your time at Advanced Eye Center. Vision correction for all ages.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System Studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
And here's the secret sauce in all of this. Take a look at this. Early voting surges in the New York City mayoral race. 2021, the first 2 days, 31,000 people voted early. This year, 165,000 people voted early. He has got intensity behind him, and that is the secret sauce in winning elections. And I would venture that if candidates across the country who are of a similar political bent as he are looking at this and saying, we can get this much intensity in big cities like New York. We could do it in Chicago. We could do it in San Francisco. We could do it in Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle.
Well, I mean, look at John
like
Ossoff in Georgia.
Yeah.
He won't vote to reopen the government because he needs the same small dollars that Zohran and AOC have turned into a political machine.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and I'm here with my good friend Michael Levine, who does these fantastic Without Notes YouTube program that's been on for a while, and we're going to talk about all the news of the day, but I'm so excited about who he has coming up very soon in speaking to General Petraeus, who is like one of my real heroes, Michael. I mean, I think that he is a soldier, and I just love him.
Well, I was very honored to interview him. That interview will be out in about 2 weeks, and it was very fascinating, as he is. It mostly spoke about his beliefs, not as much with the military as with life. He said repeatedly, life is a competition sport. And that if you're going to prosper in life, A, you better get used to that concept, and 2, you got to get prepared for the competition, and you got to devote enormous amounts of energy and time and effort and thought into how to prosper in that competition. And I thought it was very good advice maybe that this nation doesn't necessarily want to hear, but very, very much needs to hear. So I think it'll be an interesting conversation. At least I hope so.
Well, I mean, because it really feeds into kind of what we're dealing with right now. And there's a lot of people out there that haven't learned the lessons of leadership, of independence, of resilience. And we're starting to elect people like that, whether it's,
Correct.
Barack Obama, who barely had a job before he was elected to president, or Zohran Mamdani, that it hasn't had a real job and now is going to be running one of the biggest cities. And I mean, I've given up that maybe a miracle will happen, but it looks like he's going to be the mayor of New York, or, any of a number of other people John Ossoff, the senator of our own state, really did not have a real job before he was elected to the United States Senate. And we used to value experience and leadership and that kind of thing. And then you have the kind of ancillary path of people like Donald Trump being successful, who are those kind of hardworking leadership type people, and David Petraeus and others like that. So we've got these two tracks going on, but because of social media and a lot of other things, one side hardly ever hears from the other one.
Well, all well said, Martha. Very, very well said. Look, the Democratic Party has made an important realization, which is that free is a very, very appealing vote-gathering strategy. Unfortunately, the problem with that logic is that there is no free. And they are selling a total and complete, unadulterated con job, right? However, it is fascinating to watch a nation, or many, many portions of a nation, believe it and buy into it, which I guess has a lot to say about the education of our citizenry. I mean, my goodness gracious, 30, 40 years ago, your parents would have instructed most people over the age of 10, Johnny, Sally, Jose, there is no free. There is no free. You have to earn it. But today, we have been lulled, or many, many people, into this free, if it's free, it's for me, logic. Some of the stuff that I've heard in New York is so ludicrous. It is so outrageously stupid and silly, moronic, that you would think it was a Saturday Night Live parody.
Well, and I
was
listening in on a meeting that I was invited to, and I was just listening because I knew it was mostly Democrats, and I wanted to hear what they had to say. And they were talking about the fact that, you know, we've got to give this Zohran Mamdani a chance because we've never really tried any of this stuff before. And I'm like, okay, you clearly don't understand history. And in fact, everywhere the socialism and communism has been tried, it has failed. And we can't, but we live in this world where a lot of young people, and Van Jones of all people said there are 1 billion young people that have been taught to hate America, to hate capitalism, to hate free markets, and that we're going to deal, and in 10 years they're going to be in power, and in 20 years they're going to be running things. And that, for me, because you know I'm an optimist, scared the heck out of me.
I think it should. I think the fact that we are actually considering the possibility of this socialist as mayor of New York City, should be so preposterous as to be a Saturday Night Live skit. But yet it is happening in our midst. Now, I think any thoughtful person should be invited to ask, well, if it's happening, why is it happening? Who educated the people screaming at his rallies, yelling and screaming with ecstasy, anti-Israeli, anti-capitalist, Marxist logic? Where did these people come from? Where were they educated? How did they get through the American education system? Isn't that concerning? Dear God Almighty.
It's so crazy. Now, then our good friend Gavin Newsom went on one of these urban radio or urban podcasts and affected this kind of voice that sounds like he grew up in the hood and tried to say that he was a latchkey kid that came home and ate Wonder Bread and was really not, you know, coming from the privilege that he came from. And it's so funny to me that a simple Google search just shows that this isn't true, but nobody pushes back on it.
Well, nobody in the mainstream media does, which is why the mainstream media has as much trust, has no trust, because there is no reasonable pushback. If a Republican said half of the nonsense that he said, right? Just half, then every mainstream media outlet, now mainstream, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, National Public Radio, which could be the worst, by the way. If you want the trophy for the worst, perhaps National Public Radio is the worst. It's hard, a lot of competition. And Associated Press. Yeah, you thought, how could Associated Press become a biased outlet? It's happened. It's happened. The worst on Israel might well be the Associated Press. How did this happen? Well, we allowed it. We allowed it over year after year after year of just going along and thinking, well, it'll all work out. It didn't work out. So, unfortunately, Gavin Newsom can sell his con job. Forget about his record. I mean, just this narrative that it's preposterous. It's, as you said, a simple Google search from a bright 12-year-old can prove it's nonsense.
Absolutely. Michael Levine, if you guys don't know who Michael is after all these years of him being with me, he is one of the best branding and media experts the world has ever seen. He's represented a record-breaking 58 Academy Award winners and 34 Grammy Award winners, 43 New York Times bestsellers, and he wrote the fantastic book Broken Windows, Broken Business. And he's got the fantastic podcast that is a deep discussion into issues that I think that we all ought to care about. So I am so excited to always have you on the program.
God bless you. Thank you for the chance.
Thank you. We'll talk more. We'll be back.
Everyone wants to live a rich life, especially in retirement. Join Rich Life advisor Bo Henderson for the Rich Life Retirement Show, where the math shows you the path. Sundays at 12:35 on WDUN.
Check your pockets and you'll find a quarter ready to inspire you to visit the state you find on the back. It's America the Great on a podcast called Quarter Miles Travel, from Virginia's historic sites to the wide open plains of Montana, the low country rhythms of coastal Georgia to the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. Explore America based on the U.S. Mint State Quarters. Hi, it's Anita with Travel with Anita and Friends. Quarter Miles Travel is all about pride. Pride in our states and our country. The natural beauty, the history, landmarks, and interesting people all make our country an exceptional place to visit. Go to my website, travelwithanita.com, where you will hear the podcast with stories told by historians and people who know the little-known facts. So come along, let's go on an adventure. Reach in your pocket and pull out that quarter. Flip it over, and Quarter Miles Travel will take it from there. We'll help you turn that quarter into an adventure.
This fall, give your lawn and food plots the winning edge with Limelight Pro. Now at Farmers Exchange in Cleveland. Limelight Pro is a premium, fast-acting pelletized lime that helps balance soil pH, unlock nutrients, and boost plant growth. Easy to spread, quick to work, and perfect for a fall application. Whether growing grass, gardens, or game plots, get the results you want with Limelight Pro. Farmers Exchange, your hometown partner for a stronger, greener season.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Towns County Sheriff and a deputy have been indicted by a grand jury this week on charges from a December 2024 incident. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
The thing that's so funny about Zohran Mamdani socialism is that it's actually powered by elites. So he didn't win with the very poor. He won with the sort of over-credentialed, downwardly mobile 20 and 30-somethings who are stuck in this perpetual childhood because of the job market and the housing market. They can't reach adulthood. And what he does is kind of give a permission structure to them for the failures of the dreams of their youth. He himself has a life that's, supported by his parents, right? So apparently giving this, idea, there's no shame in that, right? right? Makes more money but lives in a rent-controlled apartment, subsidized apartment. Yeah. He's sort of like the Pied Piper of Bushwick. And that's really who likes socialism. Working class Americans really don't like free stuff. Well, they don't like welfare. Fair. They want a job market that rewards their very hard labor with the American dream. He's a crisis.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show, and you're right. It was kind of what Michael talked about with free stuff, and then Bhatia saying you don't like free stuff. So Logan, I want to bring you in on this just because, Bhatia Ungar Sargon is really like everywhere right now. She's gotten her own show on News Nation. I find her voice a little difficult to listen to. I think she's very smart, but what do you think?
No, I think that she presents herself, the way she has her speeches and she talks on television, very, very nice and laid out. But I see what you mean. A lot of people might have a nails on a chalkboard reaction at times. But I think that, like I said, she's everywhere, though. You can't, flip channel without seeing her.
She is everywhere, and she has this great book, Second Class, that's out that I've read. If you haven't read it, you should do it. And it talks about what we've seen, Logan, with people that are, quite frankly, kind of from your age group to my daughter's age group, where they're having, I wouldn't say you're not having any difficulty, but that feel like they're having difficulty getting to the next rung, whether it's the property ladder or it's the next job or whatever it is, that there's a lot of people that feel like they're stagnant, that are well educated, they did all the things that their parents told them to do, but yet they're having a lot more trouble getting into the business world than their predecessors did.
No, I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. For myself, I graduated in 2020, which we know what that was going on that year. And for example, I didn't get to take a lot of my senior classes that year because of, the COVID shutdown. They had all of our stuff online. So I never got any hands-on training, the stuff that, you go to college for. You work those 3 years to go to the fourth year. And that's when you're supposed to get all the hands-on experience, the internships, et cetera, et cetera. Personally, I didn't get that. A lot of people in my graduating class didn't get that as well. And kind of seemingly after that, like I mentioned with, just the economy and, housing and trying to get a house, that seems like a pipe dream for myself and a lot of people just because the money, there is a lot of good, good paying jobs out there and whatnot. But the housing market, I haven't even thought, no one in my friend circle has even thought about looking to get a house because just the money and the dollar amounts just scare us, honestly, because it's like, wow, that's a large number that we don't have and we don't know when we're even going to get close to that.
The good news is I am noticing that overall prices of homes are going down. The interest rates haven't gone down yet. They've gone down a little bit,
right,
but not a lot. And I think that that's the bigger thing that's got to happen. The prices have got to go down some. And folks, I get why the message of Zohran Mamdani is resonating because, especially in a place like New York City, you can't afford to buy somewhere there.
No.
Now, what's interesting about him, though, and this is why I'm saying he's a fraud. I'm not saying it just because he's a Democrat, okay? His parents are billionaires, okay? He went to all the best schools. He did not become an American citizen until 2018. So he may not have a lot of money on paper, but he's got a lot of money coming to him. And he lives in a rent-controlled building with his wife. Now, he criticized Andrew Cuomo for having an $8,000 a month apartment, which is basically kind of what apartments in New York City run. I know that sounds like a number that would make my head explode, right?
Just how it is out there.
But that's how it is. And I just don't understand why nobody pushes back on him in this young crowd because I bet rent-controlled buildings are hard to get into. So why didn't anybody ask him the question, what strings did he pull to get in there? Did his parents take away all his assets so that he could qualify? I don't know. But it does seem to me that a guy with his resources shouldn't be in a rent-controlled building.
I think that with a lot of things we see nowadays, it's just maybe like a lack of research. Just say you're going to these rallies for him, right? And you're hearing what all he has to say, the free groceries and transportation to get on the bus, ride around all day, you don't have to be paying a fare. Like I said, it all sounds great on paper, and when you hear it, it says, oh, who wouldn't want free stuff, right? But I think that if you kind of dig into it, if you look and say, okay, well, if you want free bus fare, Well, you got to pay a little bit more in property taxes. You got to pay more at the store or whatnot. It's going to come out of somewhere. There's no such thing as anything free in life. I was taught that. And you're going to have to work for what you want. But I think that, it's just not doing enough research potentially on all these candidates and saying, okay, yeah, this is what they say, but how are they going to go about getting this? How are we going to go about getting, groceries chopped down in prices? How are we going to go about, rent going down in New York of all places? Like I said, it's good on paper and when you hear it, but you have to kind of look more into it to get all the facts and to learn about the full scope of things.
Well, and I understand why it resonates with them.
Right.
I mean, it sounds really good. I don't have to pay for anything, and the rich people are going to pay for it for me. I mean, that sounds really good.
Who wouldn't want to sign up for that?
Yeah. But the thing is, evidently, Florida is already, the real estate agents in big cities in Florida are already overwhelmed with people calling and wanting to move from New York to Florida. I mean, that's been going on for several years. During de Blasio, it happened too, but it's happening more now. And then, here's the thing. Here's what I want to leave you with today. I don't think class envy is a good thing. I didn't like it when I was a Democrat back in the late 80s. It's part of the reason why I left, because I was 26, 7, 8 years old, and I was hoping to get out of the hole I was in at that point in my life financially and become successful, not only in my relationships and my relationship with God, with my family, but also in my business relationships. I wanted to be successful. And in the end of my 20s, I got on my knees and I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior, and I asked for help in these areas that I was pushing on. I had been raised a Christian. I had always been a Christian in my mind, but I kind of poo-pooed the whole idea of committing your life to Christ. I thought that was a bridge too far, and it took me being completely broken as a person to be able to find that ability to ask for that. And since then, my life has been not perfect. Nobody's is. But it has been on the right track a lot more than it's been on the wrong track. But what happened is that we've got to understand how things like this happen. And if you zeroed out every dollar that every person that you think is rich has, and I think that that's probably now not just millionaires, but 100 millionaires up, you'd still only have about a third of the debt that we have as the United States of America today. And then those folks would be out of money, so you couldn't take their money anymore, and you wouldn't have any more money to pull from. So the idea of taxing the rich does not work, because the top 1% pays 40% of the income taxes. The top 10% pay 90%. The upper income people are paying their fair share. They're paying more than you're paying, the average person. So that's the thing that I need to have people really understand, is don't look outside of yourself for who is responsible for your problems. Look inside of yourself and see, what do you need to make your life better in order to be able to solve your own problems? Because you know what? When it comes right down to it, government ain't going to solve your problems. Hopefully they'll vote to open the government up today. Call your senators.